Hello and welcome. My name is Manu Balachandran and you're watching me on Capital Ideas, Forbes India's latest podcast series where we talk to business leaders, entrepreneurs and CEOs on their insights into the world of business, the Indian economy, what it takes to be successful, facing challenges and failures along the way. We hope you enjoy these conversations as much as we did when we spoke to them. We are also available across podcast platforms including Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. Let's go speak to them.
Dr. A.Velumani is definitely no stranger, and more so during these trying times. The 61-year-old owns and runs Thyrocare, one of India's largest diagnostic chain, with a market capitalization in excess of rupees 4,000 crore. The son of a farmer, Mr. Velumani's life is battle-hardened and one that is filled with excruciating pains and remarkable highs. Mr. Velumani started Thyrocare in 1996 with rupees 1 lakh that he had pooled from his provident fund while working at the illustrious Bhabha Atomic Research Centre. Today, the company operates in over 2,000 cities and towns in India and has been at the forefront of the COVID-19 battle. Welcome to Capital Ideas, Dr. Velumani.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be a part of this conversation. Go ahead.
Thank you. Let me begin by asking you, it's been over 5 months since India announced a lockdown in its battle against COVID-19. How do you rate India's fight against COVID-19?
See, I tell it in a philosophical way.
Okay.
In villages, people used to use a phrase, dog barking at the moon. I have a reason to believe we have done that with COVID.
Okay.
It didn't make any difference to it. COVID as an infection has come, and its job is to reach to each and every living human, irrespective of country, continent, irrespective of religion, race, irrespective of male, female, age. So it's doing its job. We have been shying away from it. We have been thinking that sitting in some corner, we will escape from its fury. We are only delaying it. We are not denying that to the virus. This virus will touch everyone, including the ministers, prime ministers, governors, and presidents of every country. And in lockdown, in distancing, in masking, you are only delaying the process of exposure. And in my personal opinion, India has done exceedingly well, not because of our policies, not because of our strategies. It is because India as a country, India as an economy, Indians as individuals appear to have some advantage which has reduced the number of people dying because of COVID. Every day newspaper is alarming, media, social media, all are panicking. India has now become the second largest infected country in the world. And let me tell you, if you are the second largest populated country in the world, that is a title you will get by default. So there are two ways of approaching this COVID pandemic. One is infected counts. Another is dead counts.
Right.
Infected counts will continue to remain growing because we are different for the virus. Once infected, how our body reacts to the virus appears to be the body power, not the government power. So I have a reason to believe Indians, because of either their low per capita income Maybe because of that low per capita income have lived in unhygienic conditions. Because they lived in an unhygienic conditions, they got used to infections too often, too many. And for them, this COVID is one more.
Is that
Whereas for the Western world, which lived in a very hyper sterility conditions, hyper hygienic conditions, did not have exposure to many infections, and COVID becomes the only infection. So it has created a huge destruction in Western community. I think if I have to give you some numbers, the European, UK, and US put together, if we call them as rich Western cousins, and if we call Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, and Bangladesh as poor cousins, the richer cousins have lost 600 deaths per million. The poorer cousins have lost only 60 deaths per million, which says 1/10 of deaths only India has undergone compared to our neighbors, which says India is blessed. And don't take that credit all for bringing in lockdown. Lockdown, we have been completing 200 days now, except 50 days of lockdown. The rest is really, really painful and useless exercise.
is that the reason
The
why
first 50.
is that the reason why more and more people are now not scared coming out openly in the market, going about their daily lives? That fear that it's not doing much damage to
No, there are two kinds of people on the roads. One who cannot think, other who can think. The one who cannot think, thinking that a virus to dikhta nahi hai, I have nothing to worry about. Another man who can think says, yeah, 1 in 100 get exposed and 1 in 100 of exposed get infected. So the risk is fairly low. Let me wear mask and move. So you will only find these two categories.
Hmm.
But whether you move with mask or without mask, you have to face this virus. Wisdom is all should not face on the same week or same month because we don't have enough of hospital beds. The unlocking should be done. I think they have learned today. They are unlocking a bit of it. They should run all the trains. Then they should run all the buses. They should run all the flights. Then they should open all the schools, colleges. Then they should open all events and what you call as hospitality industry. But by December, I have a reason to believe we would have come out of the peak. Currently, we haven't come out of the peak because country is a heterogeneous population. Metros have seen some brunt, villages still have not seen. And the peak in India will not be like a peak in Sweden or Germany, which is almost like one city of India. India itself is the world of many countries.
What would you
And
what would you think
could
would
you?
be the peak? We are already close to about 1 lakh cases a day, and a long time back, ICMR, a research study by ICMR had said November could be the peak. What is your thought on that?
All are guessing, and all are guessing with many other parameter guessed. So it's very difficult for anyone to be right. Until you remove the lockdown, you can't have immunity.
Right.
Until you have immunity in majority of the population, the virus impact cannot reduced. So if somebody says they would have expected the lockdown would be over soon, or they would have not corrected for some lockdowns partially. But having said then, I also as an individual have a perception, and I will let you know, or I will tell you what it is. 80,000 people approximately India has lost in this last 8 months of COVID fight. We have done some antibody survey across the country, covering all states and around 600 cities and around 3,000 pin codes. We see approximately 30% of the population is having antibody. And in my assessment, 30% of the Indians have got already exposed to this virus, because without exposure you won't have antibody. And 80,000 deaths are because of 30% of the people getting exposed. If 90% of the people get exposed, it will be 3 times more, which means roughly around 240,000 people in this country would have lost their life because of the virus as a reason. Now, whether this existing 84,000 is underestimation or overestimation, we don't know. Because in a country where the true cause of death is not known that easily, it's sometimes non-COVID related death can be related as COVID because it was positive for COVID. And sometimes COVID related death was not classified as COVID because test was not done. So there would be, in fact, either side pulling some numbers. Let us hope this 80,000 is right number.
Right.
And if 80,000 is right, we would have lost 250,000 people when the virus completes its exposure and journey through and through. Fortunately, it is very fast spreading, least killing.
And what I happens is that much of that is also because Indians are sort of used to or living in these unhygienic conditions in comparison to the West, so they're better acclimatized to dealing with it, or their body is.
Not only that, there is age factor. India mean age is 28, China is 38, and Western cousins 48. So young people fight this virus much faster, much better, much easier. So that also is a theory proposed. Also proposed is, with the tuberculosis background, our vaccination for tuberculosis could also be protecting us from COVID. Also believed that chloroquine, which was used for malaria, we have consumed in tons and tons. That also probably is stopping the pathways of COVID attacking certain systems in the body. So there are many things. Some of the so-called patriotic Indians will tell that our living style is not like Western.
Right.
We don't consume what they consume. So there are a lot of reasons to study, but they are to be studied before concluding. So what emerges as a conclusion is India has lowest death per million.
So right now, your survey says about 30% of the population would have had some sort of
exposure
to COVID. Do you see this increasing? I mean, do you see this reaching about 80-90% levels before probably? I mean, today AstraZeneca has said that they've put their vaccine on hold. So we don't know when a vaccine will probably come. So what is the way out, essentially, out of this COVID-19 crisis?
See, as I was telling earlier, this is a fast-moving virus, less killing virus. So what has happened in India? It moved so fast. Vaccine is slow. See, there is always a race. Maran paile ya vaccine paile. Okay. So here in India, compared to the Western world, we have more exposed to antibody developed population than dead population. So this is good for India to have least death in the journey. Now, if vaccine comes, now I'm talking about September, it's very useful.
Okay.
If it comes in December, it will be less useful. If it comes in March 2021, it will may not be useful. So I keep tweeting that vaccines may miss the bus.
Right.
This is how my a kind of visualization as a scientist who understands vaccine also, virus also, and the death per million, as well as the reasons for virus control which worldwide people take. I am very happy to see Sweden, which has not gone through any of these typical lockdowns, having conquered it much easier than other countries which had lockdown, unlocked, once again spike, then rasta hai hi nahi hai until you truly get all your population exposed.
Right. So what?
So, in my opinion, vaccines may be late.
And what would be your suggestion as far as opening up the economy is concerned? I mean, we are looking at negative growth in the next fiscal year. So should we just swing back to normal now instead of waiting for things to settle?
Yeah, this minus 29 appear to be a huge, point of debate for ruling party and opposition party. The number 29 itself could be even 40 or 50 minus, because all roads are empty, all shops are closed, all businesses stopped, all services are not functional, productions are all down except probably agriculture. So where from you expected the GDP to come? GDP is nothing but the invoices and the transactions which have happened. It has come down. So if somebody tells GDP is minus 65%, I won't be shocked or surprised because nothing actually happened. But having said that, all because we had closed down, all because we told people only to sit in balcony and ganti bajao. It is quite natural to have a downside. Yes, there is a V economy or GDP, everything is a V. How wide is the V? How deep is the V? We all don't know. But it certainly is a V. If you ask me personally, the virus cannot be escaped by locking down forever. So unlock it. Don't unlock it all of a sudden for everything, so that you will not have enough beds and oxygenated beds and ventilated beds. So 10% every fortnight you unlock till you unlock fully. Don't focus on number of infected. Focus on reducing the number of death. And death prevention is success. Infection prevention is ridiculing the virus.
Understood, sir. Now, let me move away from the COVID-19 crisis to Thyrocare. Over the past few months, you've been at the forefront of the battle, increased testing and so on. What has the past 6-7 months meant for Thyrocare in terms of, as a company altogether?
I must tell you, the COVID coming was not sudden. I sensed that it could come, but I did not know it would come suddenly and close down with 4 hours of notice. So that was a huge doka, whatever you call a word, was a huge problem for business, for entire countries, different kind of businesses, and including healthcare business.
Right.
But fortunate for us, one door closed and another door opened. We were allowed to do a PCR test for COVID. But no one ever had any expertise of doing PCR test for COVID. PCR test was done for HIV, hepatitis B virus, C virus. These are all not infectious like this. And they were all done using blood. Suddenly we are doing swab. Suddenly we have to wear a PPE, and suddenly the PPE man should travel to collect swab, and he has to travel, and everything is locked down. So there are a lot of challenges, but I think every challenge is an opportunity when you can understand and come out of it. We had a capacity to do 200 swabs per day. This is too little compared to the size of the country. But those days, all government and the private lab put together itself had very little capacity. The country has scaled up for the capacity, so are the private players, and so is Thyrocare. From 200 swabs per day, today we have a 10,000 swabs per day capacity.
Right.
And with 10,000 capacity, we are doing roughly around 4,000 a day. And this 4,000 a day is a very good revenue compared to the low revenue non-COVID business. So we suddenly see a good opportunity to double the business in even 1 or 2 years period. So for healthcare, COVID becomes an opportunity. But having said that, COVID is a pandemic. Making money is sin according to everyone. And a lot of price control. We started with 4,500 per swab. Yesterday morning, the government of Maharashtra has said you can't charge more than 1,600 rupees. So it has come down to 1/3 of what it was. So is the raw material cost, which we used to buy for 1,500 per test, has come down to today around 400 rupees per test. So there is a fair demand supply supporting the business, though the revenues are going down, the volumes are supporting. So if you ask me, in the long run, when I say long run, next 3 years, the COVID business could be equivalent to non-COVID business. So if non-COVID business comes back to its full capacity, it could be 2x for the industry.
Right. What explains, the dip in the non-COVID revenue stream? Is that because people are skeptical about going there, getting tested on different diseases?
It is something like, normal, regular, conventional business disrupted by pandemic.
Okay.
So all attention of government on pandemic, all priority for hospitals has become pandemic, because quality of life was regular business. Life or death is COVID business. So that got into back burner. Government openly said cancel all your planned surgeries. Government said 80% should be allotted only for COVID. And the people who felt that they would need a visit to a doctor felt, why not I wait till the hospitals are free from infection fear. And unfortunately, the most scared in the pandemic is the doctors.
Right.
And all non-COVID doctors started sitting at home and taking telephones for consultation. So the complete disruption has put to the non-COVID business literally zero in April. And in May month, 15% came back. In June month, 30% came back. Today, we are back with 75-80%. I have a reason to believe post Diwali, it will be more than what it was.
Interesting, sir. Now, I just wanted to trace your journey to where you are today. I know it all goes back to a village in Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
Is it through those early days, before you?
Yeah, it's Tamil Nadu, it's Coimbatore, it's Sulur, a town from Coimbatore.
Sulur.
And it is Appanaikkambatti, which is a village near the town Sulur.
Right.
And mine is, once again, like, for Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, for Appanaikkambatti, there was an Appanaikkambatti Pudur, which is one more extension. So It was 28 kilometers from Coimbatore railway station. Yeah, you said in the introduction, there were a lot of pains he has undergone in his early childhood. Let me very honestly admit, I didn't undergo any pains. When it comes to poverty, there are two kinds of people: one who enjoys it, other who suffers because of it. The one who enjoys it is coming out of poverty very fast. The one who suffers of poverty will continue to remain poor lifelong. So I fortunately saw one side of life as very bright and possible. And it's not that we didn't have food to eat, we had some food to eat. My mother kept the basic intestine alive. And then we persuaded education, because in those days, somebody educated is white collar and somebody uneducated is blue collar. My mother wanted us to be in white collar segment. So then a graduation, and then unemployment.
Had siblings also, sir?
Yeah. I had five. One died when he was 3 years old. So four were there. Four are still there. I have two brothers, other brothers, and one sister. I'm the eldest in the family. And all of us became graduates in Madras University. That was the strength of my mother. She never borrowed. She reared two buffaloes, and I think I learned management only from her. How to run life without borrowing, how to manage resources. And let me tell you my punchline here. People in business have to manage with low resources.
Right.
But I learned how to manage with no resources. So managing no resources, if you have mastered, managing in low resources, you become very powerful. So that's frugality part of it.
So what did
And
you
then,
study, sir?
pardon?
What did you study for graduation?
Yeah, I was a mathematics man in 12th standard because that was the electives. Then in graduation, maths, physics, chemistry, and I was 200 out of 200 in mathematics. And one is the poverty, which helped me to do a wonderful journey. Second thing is mathematics. For some reasons, maths is a wonderful subject. If you know maths, you know risk taking. If you know maths, you know costing. And if you know costing, you can price it. Pricing, you know. And if you have priced it right, your business will never fail. 90% of the time, business fails because pricing is wrong.
So they don't know maths.
So this very unique way of looking at the success of business. And when I priced my services very low, people told me, "Will you get enough to eat?" But then, I knew that if I am the lowest and I am the best, I will be the tallest.
Right.
It's a matter of time. So I want all entrepreneurs to keep in their mind, there is no company on this earth closed down because they have priced it low. All closed down companies are closed down because in spite of pricing it high, they could not control the cost.
Interesting.
Efficiency is the power of entrepreneurship, not the money. How in our floor we see what is cost per lakh. This is known, we call as CPL, cost per lakh. So everything you calculate the cost per lakh, all individual components put together is cost per lakh of the total turnover. My company has 40% EBITDA. I must tell you here, in the entire world, India is cheapest in healthcare. And in entire India, I am the cheapest in diagnostic services. And my balance sheet has got the highest profit. This is nothing but efficiency. I don't think any business on this earth can survive if it has challenges in operational efficiency. Why is that Air India struggles when Indigo didn't? It's efficiency. You look at in any industry, some of them will be dying, some of them will be roaring, all because everything else is same except the operational efficiency. So I want entrepreneurs to keep that in the mind and create a good HR. My strength is HR. I
Right.
have employed 8,000 freshers. So my strength is lowest employee cost, highest productivity of employee, and the leader has to set an example. And I must tell you, lot of leaders preach, hardly anyone practices.
Fascinating.
And the employees are children. Employees are children. They will only copy. They won't listen. So this is very unique, compulsion for CEOs and leaders.
Right.
You have to behave. You have to behave. Then the people who follow you will behave.
Interesting. Now, before I get into the lessons for young entrepreneurs, I want to also, through your life, actually tell them about the journey. So you went from Coimbatore, where you did your undergraduation. I mean, from Madras University. You landed up in Bombay, back then Mumbai. I mean, now Mumbai, trying to find a job.
No, actually, I got, it's very interesting. People should know that you should keep searching for opportunity. Opportunity will not come and knock your door.
Right.
In Coimbatore, there was a central library. And that library was my favorite adda.
Okay.
I didn't have money and didn't have friends. And so my life was more towards library than towards movie theaters and entertainment options. In that library, there used to come Times of India from Bombay.
Right.
Every Wednesday, there used to be a lot of situations, vacant situations, wanted kind of things. Every Wednesday. Even today, it is Wednesday only it comes.
Right.
And once I saw an advertisement of Bhabha Atomic Research Centre, I thought I must apply. And I applied. And I got an interview. So I came to Mumbai, not with very vague dream. If I get a government job, government of India job, my life will be completely transformed. So I came and attended the interview, and fortunately, the interview I got through. So I call that as breakthrough in my journey, which wasn't planned. It
Right.
was accidental. But I always tell, had I not gone to that library, had I not applied, this all would have not happened. So it's all that, lucky I am. Many people ask, what do you ascribe your success to? I tell them, lot of luck and supported by lot of hard work.
Right.
But without luck, I would have not been what I am. So I came to Mumbai with an interview letter in hand.
Which year was this, sir?
1982, 18th August.
Okay.
Jayanti Janata Express boarded in Coimbatore, S9 coach, 41 was the berth number.
Wow, you remember all of that. And you came to join BARC as what?
No, I'll tell you that also there were lots of thrills there.
Right.
I came to join as a scientific assistant. After interview, they didn't declare the result because government takes 15 days to declare the result. So I had to go back.
Right.
Then I thought I may not get the job because it's a very great institute. Under Jacke, I felt this institute, I don't deserve to be here.
Right.
But then I got an offer letter, so I came back once again, this time to join. But there was a medical examination in which they detected I have a color blindness.
Okay.
And then they rejected, and I became dejected. And I went back once again to Coimbatore.
Okay.
After 15 days, I received a letter again telling that your color blindness is not affecting your work, so you are advised to join. So that came as a great joy. You said a movie you can always make out of it. So finally, I was into the BRC job. So 3 trips in 3 months.
You had to do a few up and down trips to Bombay.
Yes, 3 trips in 3 months.
Wow. Okay. And then you joined BRC as a scientific assistant.
Yeah. Yes, scientific assistant. I joined, and my job was to do thyroid testing.
Okay.
And in thyroid testing, it's a very boring job. It's a monkey job because it's a teasing job.
Right.
Many were hating it. But then, I also would have hated it had I been a rich man's son. So, life is nothing but without option. If you have option, you fail. If you have no option, you are successful. And it's
Right.
very, very rare way of looking at things.
Absolutely.
And I accepted that as, sarkar naukri hai, you get a very decent salary. Whatever work is, you must enjoy. So I started working on thyroid, but then, there are two kinds of people in the workplace. One who only works, other who thinks also. So I started looking at where is thyroid, started studying thyroid as a gland, endocrinology, then endocrinology, immunology, microbiology, molecular biology, everything. I told already, for me, library is the adda.
Absolutely.
So in the DRC, the biggest library in the country, if you take top 10, one is DRC.
Right.
And inside you can spend lifelong reading. So I took that as, a 15 years BRC job. I took as 15 years BRC course.
Right.
Money was coming as salary. I treated as stipend.
Right.
So a very unique way of using an opportunity. I said always, you look everything around as an opportunity. Then I was very good to my bosses. And if you are good to your boss, he has no choice. He has to be good to you.
That's a lesson for youngsters.
Yes, and he has no choice. I must tell here, I am today as powerful as I am only because of two things. One thing is, my father never made a single rupee. Second thing is, my boss in BRC was a blind man.
Right.
So, first half, I learned to live, fight the life without money. The second half, that is the job in BRC, there was a blind man for whom I had to work under. But I used that as an opportunity and I took care of that gentleman and he took care of me and he gave me to do MSc and PhD in Mumbai University, out of where he tried. And I am very grateful that this unique combination of poverty, guts, grits, glory,
So,
all had enough of chemistry in it.
absolutely.
Go ahead.
So you did MSc and PhD while studying while working at BR.
Yes. Well, I was traveling to Mumbai. I was thinking BSc full stop.
Okay.
Then becomes MSc, comma, PhD, comma, comma, comma.
And what was your subject for PhD, sir?
It was also thyroid biochemistry.
Okay. So by then the subject had
And I
got
must,
your heart and your
yes,
head.
and I must tell you, the way in which I focused on thyroid, it almost now sounds like Android. To that to that extent, I made full use of it.
Absolutely. So you completed your PhD while working at BRC. And
Yes.
when did the entrepreneurial bug catch you?
There was no bug catching. My boss retired,
Okay.
and I was very comfortable with him. He was very happy with me. So it looked like one phase is over.
Right.
And then that time I was with two children.
Okay.
That time my wife was working with State Bank of India. And that time I felt, why not I give up this job and try something else?
Right.
And I felt my wife's salary anyhow is there. Why should I be scared? And I was a very frugal man. I must tell you here, all entrepreneurs who are thinking, how did this man took a daring step at that age? It is frugality again. I didn't buy a house. Because I didn't buy a house, I didn't have an EMI. Because I didn't buy a house, I had a closing balance.
Right.
And my closing balance was substantially high for, common man's way of living.
Right.
And this closing balance was sufficient for my family to survive for next 5 years, even if I fail in business. So my mind said, why not I take a risk? I think this is what I want the entrepreneurial community to understand. बड़ा होना है या बुढ़ा होना है. Now, this is a very powerful punchline. If you want to become big, you have to take risk.
Right.
Buddha anaito, it is natural, and in government job, you become old much faster also. And another thing is, when I was poor, I got money to eat. I didn't settle. I got then BRC job. I had enough of facilities, all kind of privileges which no man would like to sacrifice. I didn't settle. So my mind always says, why not hear the punchline again? If you get used to comfort zone, then you are getting into danger zone.
Right.
Comfort zones are danger zones. You must quit and move out of it. So, entrepreneur, I didn't know that I would create a great Thyrocare brand and company. वो सब निकल पड़ो रास्ता अपने आप बनता है. I just got inside the business.
Right.
One thing I must tell you, it is 27-year-old business. I have been 17 hours in a day working without break.
Even on weekends, or do you give yourself
Absolutely.
on
I
weekends?
have been living in my laboratory for the last 27 years.
And how
So there are some guys who think who will work 9 to 5 if I don't like it. If I start a business, I can work 2-3 hours in a day. You are gone. If you work for someone else, there is a log off by the end of the day, by Friday evening. But if you work for yourself, you just can't log off.
Absolutely.
So that has been a very, very important one which entrepreneurs have to keep in mind. I think I loved working. I enjoyed working. That made me to work more, learn fast. And whatever I have today reached is not that I knew that time itself. And then listing a company I did by myself, learning. I'm not a CA. I'm not CS. I am not, but I think keep on learning. You will find everything easy to do.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know how I have become powerful, but I have become powerful every day by a percentage.
So how difficult was it, with the initial capital that you had pulled in? You knew you were safe for 5 years, but how difficult was starting a business? Things may not have been very conducive. India must have been just coming out of license Raj. Was it easy, difficult?
I don't remember, or I don't sense, and I don't understand what this word license Raj is. But I must tell you, in 1995, when I started business, what were my challenges? Madarasi doing business in Maharashtra, big challenge. Madarasi planning to do business in Bihar, Punjab, and Odisha, big challenge. A mathematician coming into pathology and doing business, a big challenge. Challenging Marwadis, Gujaratis, and Maharashtrians in Mumbai is another big challenge. So, if you know, and a boy from a village who has not even had a formal education in a business school, another challenge. So, but having said that, I'll tell you what are all plus points. Plus points are Mumbai is a place no one bothers about what you are doing as long as you don't trouble him. So until I became a listed company, no one in Bombay created any hindrance, any trouble, nothing. Wonderful. Secondly, if you start business with money,
Right.
you need money always to run business. But if you started business without money, you don't need money to run the business. So funds and finance was never a challenge. Many may not believe, but I never have seen my closing balance. Last 40 years, whether I was an employee or an employer, I am not monitoring my closing balance. Very rare and unique way of living life. Because once you see the closing balance, you will be tempted to close this closing balance.
Absolutely.
That is what plenty of the guys doing. Why do they buy a class 3 Mercedes? Because they see a closing balance and they also see an EMI power. I haven't seen, and for me, business has been a very smooth journey. Funds was not a problem, market was not a problem, environment was not a problem. Only problem, only problem, time.
Right.
How much time do you have? But I had set my priorities right. One, two, three, right. I didn't live a social life of going to weekends to pubs, bars, holidays, resorts, nothing. I enjoyed my work. For me, morning is starting with reading the mails, ending with reading the mails. So I don't know. My children are also quite shocked and surprised. Dad, how are you so different? But then, I have been different and I am enjoying what I am. My children also sometimes ask, Daddy, why don't you relax and enjoy? What do you think I'm doing? I'm relaxing and enjoying. So this is a very, very, very different way. And let me tell you, 1/3 of the time you must relax and enjoy in life. Otherwise, you are not truly enjoying the purpose of life.
Right.
But I am enjoying 1/3 of my time every hour. You have understood what I'm talking?
Yes.
Every hour, 20 minutes, I am relaxing.
Okay.
So I am relaxing for 30% of my time.
Right.
Your way of relaxing is traveling to your resort and paying to the same idli or dosa 5 times more. My way of relaxing is sitting here and dreaming and fantasizing that I am in a meadow, or I am in a valley, or I am in a beach, or I am whatever it is. Relax. And let me tell you, relaxation is in the mind.
Absolutely.
It is not in the location.
So again, going back into the Thyrocare journey, 96 you started out, you set in place the company. Till you listed in, I think, about 2016, 2017, you had some phenomenal growth during that period. How was that, during that phase? I'm sure you must have faced some difficulties while setting up, in terms of capacity, in terms of having a lab. How was that journey for you, sir?
I think I am a man who has lived now for 61 years without seeing any difficulty.
Okay.
When I say so, people will think, "Kya bolta hai ye?" And let me tell you why. Difficulty is you want to achieve there, and there is a block inside, in between.
Right.
That is difficulty. I don't want to achieve anywhere. I don't have a target. I must do that. My target starts every morning. Let me try something today, little different. So I didn't promise to any investor, मैं इतना करके दिखाऊंगा. I never said. I never gave a promise to my parents, मैं कमा के करके I will show you. No, nothing. I only told my wife, let us enjoy our life. Instead of working in an office for someone else, let us work in an office of our own.
Right.
And it was a absolute fun. But having said that, there were challenges of getting people, because when you are not a brand, people will not that easily come to you.
Right.
Then training them, retaining them, motivating them, and adding more, and then geography and remote operations of Calcutta, Delhi, all from Bombay, and then IT. You have, without a wonderful IT, you won't be able to make anything successful. Then logistics. You have to get the specimen to Mumbai from every part of the world, country, same night, every night before midnight.
Is that
So
how?
lot of yeah. This is how it functions. In fact, I am known as a logistics king.
Okay.
Technology, I don't have anything superior than any of the street corner laboratory, because all of us use a similar technology. Only thing is, mine is volume. Volume means automation. Automation is very costly, but if you have high volume, automation is much simpler.
Right.
So then, if you have to have volume, you have to get everything to one floor, and everything to one floor means you have to use air cargo logistics. And I have succeeded in logistics very early.
So you have
So
Thyrocare has one processing lab in Bombay. Is that right?
This was a story till 2015.
Okay.
Then we felt a size of 40,000 specimen already reached to the floor.
Right.
We sensed the floor is losing efficiency after a particular volume.
Right.
Then we felt the ideal size for maximum efficiency is 10,000 tests. So we set up one in Coimbatore and we found cost is not going up, but efficiency is improving.
Right.
Then today we have got 12 of them in 12 metro cities.
Okay.
Across the country.
But until
very geographic,
you operated with just one
single lab.
And you, so
all were shocked to see how this man is managing 1.3 billion population coverage sitting in one place. And finally, I went to decentralize it, not because the sample cannot come, because the efficiencies were challenged.
Right.
So that is why I went for a decentralization.
Interesting.
But once again, I didn't have an ego. I changed my religion suddenly. I always used to tell Mera single floor, single floor, single floor. Then I realized that why should I have an ego? Why not I have a dozen floor? Today I have a dozen floor and I am planning to have 40 floors.
40?
Yeah. Every airport city will have one laboratory.
But initially, how difficult was it? You mentioned you're a logistic king. So how did you manage this air cargo? I mean, getting stuff from remote parts of the country, getting it to your processing lab must have been very difficult, especially the turnaround time.
Can you lift a buffalo?
I don't know.
Say yes, no.
No.
You can't lift, right?
Yeah.
Now you answer my question. Can you lift a buffalo calf just born?
I suppose. Yes.
Yes. 7 kilos.
Yes.
Yes. 1 day old.
Yeah.
2 day old.
I think so.
3. You keep on lifting every day without giving a single day break. You will lift 1 day another buffalo.
Interesting.
That's logistics.
Right. And then
it all started with Pune, Nasik, and Surat.
Right.
It worked very well. Then we went to Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Chennai. It worked very well in South. Then we went to Chandigarh and Delhi and Calcutta. It worked. So it all works over a period of time, learning from every mistake and then improving on it,
right,
and then scaling up.
Sometime back, when the company was undergoing its listing process, when we had a chat, you had mentioned that 2 lessons that you always kept at the back of your mind while running the business. One was of not taking on any debt, and second was keeping a certain amount of cash as reserve through your time, and you just never touched it. Do you continue to do that? I mean, and what was the rationale behind doing something like that? Not many entrepreneurs do that these days. And we've seen that, especially with experts.
I think I have said the frugality plays a very vital role in an entrepreneurial journey. And if you look at somebody who is running 3-year-old business,
right,
still they won't have profit, but he might have taken a very big chunk for his salary. Now, if you don't take salary out of the company, and if you can run the business for 25 years, it will be $1 billion company, market cap company.
Right.
So I fortunately was a very frugal man, didn't need money at all. Then after 15 years, somebody told me for tax efficiency, you should take some salary. Then I took some salary till the private equity guys came inside.
Right.
Then private equity guy, when they came inside, I will not take salary, because I don't want their money to come to me as salary.
Right.
And you may not be knowing, but today also as a listed company, I am working without salary.
Wow.
Why I emphasize that is, when your needs become very little, company's comfort becomes very good. So kept money back into the business, plow it back. Where did I put in money? This company is promoters.
Right.
We all of us did never took money out, and that became a huge asset. So if you ask me, taking out huge salaries might be tax efficient, but I don't think that is wisdom. And companies should have adequate resources. Nowadays, we declare dividend because there is too much of cash reserves. Imagine a company will never have borrowed.
Right.
I think it is heaven to run such a company where your banker is visiting you every day, not for EMI, to place the deposits with him. What a wonderful situation one can be in.
Absolutely.
But then it's not that in every business it is possible. Mine is a high profit business. Mine as such is not high profit business. I am a high efficient business model. So a lot of things. Sometimes people will, listen, "Arey, kya bolta hai?" These are all impossible. But then, this is what exactly is on paper.
Interesting. And what was the rationale behind you brought in private equity sometime in 2008-9, around that period?
Yes. Yes.
And what was the thinking at that point, sir?
Thrill. See, I didn't have a debt to retire. I didn't have somebody who wanted to go out. I wanted to know what is the value of my company. And I didn't go to them. They came to me.
Right.
And when they come to you, you can tell any price.
Right.
And I said 2x as my price. The guys were shocked, but then they wanted to buy and they bought it.
Right.
They had a feeling they have paid higher side. But when they went out after 5 years, they went with 4x. So I asked them, did you guys pay less or pay more? it, it was another, many entrepreneurs are scared to dilute.
Right. And now,
I must tell you,
yeah,
had I not diluted, my company would have not become cleaner and transparent. Because once somebody else is a stakeholder in your organization, he is bound to ask too many questions.
Right.
And you don't want him to ask any question which is worrying you.
Right.
So you clean the system so well. It is, in fact, a very good move to bring in somebody from outside.
Is that
and
what is the rationale?
Yes,
public.
Rational for going for public. The man who had come in had to go out.
Right.
Because he's a private equity.
Right.
For him, no one was willing to buy his stock at the price which he wanted.
Right.
So he came back and again and asked me. I once again wanted a thrill. The IPO also was a thrill only.
Right.
So I told him, "You want to go for IPO?" He said, "Yes, go ahead." So this was a kind of in a board only 1 minute discussion.
Right.
He was shocked. We went for an IPO. But let me tell you, after IPO also has given me a lot more learning.
Right.
And lot more into transparency and running a business without any kind of, fear. One thing, the man who doesn't do a transparent business only has fear.
Right.
So for me, all these things happens to be a very good experiment and enjoyable experience. Only because there was nothing there to hide. It's a very powerful business project.
Interesting, sir. And now
it got 75 times subscribed, which says that I am the best brand in the diagnostic industry because all my peers did not get that much of oversubscription.
Yes, I remember that 75x subscription.
Yes.
So now where do you intend to take Thyrocare? I mean, what is the next leg of Thyrocare? Do you plan that, or you're just going to see as it comes?
One thing I will tell you philosophically. I am on the river and I have a boat.
Right.
The river's direction is not clear. But one thing is certain, this river will get into ocean.
Right.
So I am not going to change the direction of my river. The company, I don't have any specific number to achieve. I have to reach there. I have to reach there. I have to go to Europe. I have to go to US. Nothing.
Right.
I have eight. I have employed so far 8,000. I must employ 100,000. That's all. Now, where it reaches, any man who employed is employed because he makes me richer. This is one philosophy an entrepreneur should keep in your mind.
You mentioned
If you think
8,000
you
to 100,000.
100,000 employees
Right, sir.
is the dream.
Right.
So if you take one employee, he makes, let us say, 5 crore revenue, half is his, half is mine.
Right.
So whenever I look at an employee, I see that as an opportunity. So will we keep on adding to the workforce? In between, after IPO, I did not add adequately.
Right.
Now after COVID, I understand that my problem was I didn't have enough people. Country is big, market is big, opportunity is aplenty. So having more people, train them, put them, they will live their life. I will live my mission.
But do you think this is a pivotal moment? It will change your sector and even the healthcare sector larger, for good now?
Yeah, I think I have been talking about it, and let me put it this way. There are a few industries completely collapsed. Some of them are disrupted, but they are not collapsed.
Right.
Some of them are positively impacted.
Right.
Three most worrying collapsed industries are travel. Even now, only 10% of flights running at 20% capacity,
Right.
to domestic. For all flights to be airborne, it might take even 4-5 years. Gone. Travel and tourism gone. Hospitality industry is completely down.
Right.
So these three industries are completely gone. In fact, my children are of that opinion. All hotel chains will become all hospital chains. Now, what are positively impacted are healthcare, which includes pharmaceutical, hospital, and diagnostics. Also, wellness, fitness, nutrition, and also health, hygiene products.
Right.
So these three segments will have a great prosperity. I see my business doing very well. If I am sitting in a pilot's position and I am making a survey of the COVID hit country, I am of that opinion. Next 10 years, CAGR, compounded annual growth rate, will be 2x if X was for the last 10 years.
If X was for the last 10 years. Fascinating, sir. And I know it's getting late, so I will let me, one final question about young entrepreneurs, youngsters who are listening to us. What would maybe be 3 lessons that you can impart them?
Yes, don't think that COVID has spoiled all your chances, especially if you are a budding entrepreneur or a new entrepreneur. You have all options to rework to the new environment, all your business indices. In the new environment, don't think that doing business is difficult. It's different. Difficult is different. Different is different. And you need to have patience. You need to have all ingredients that are needed to run the business as you needed earlier also. Nothing changes.
Right.
Except that the canvas is bit different. Employee perception about workplace, work from home, all will be very, very different. But trust me, anything brick and mortar has been anyhow degenerating for the last 20 years, more so post-COVID. Anything connected with technology, tech companies, IT enabled, IT controlled, IT monitored, will be very highly profitable, scalable, and you will get a lot of valuations. So whenever you decide what you should do, if you are going to start new, don't worry about resetting. This is my advice. Just because you spent some money and you started something, don't waste your time if that is not going to restart the way in which it was supposed to be.
Absolutely.
We also have, in this last 5 years, made a lot of mistakes. We were
Right.
wondering how to correct it. COVID came and we corrected it. Because COVID becomes an opportunity to correct everything. Reset. Every time in life, if possible, reset. And the punchline is, if you yourself reset, you move up in the pyramid.
Right.
If somebody else has resetted you, you move down in the pyramid.
And
So better
always
you
out of the comfort zone.
yes, these are all comfort zone, because you are in comfort zone, you won't reset. Somebody else will reset and you are gone.
Right.
So I advise people to reset, review, restart, and have less of expectation. Day before yesterday, one boy came to give me a marriage invitation, and sir, I want your wishes. I told him, you want my wishes? Please go into marriage without any expectation. You will be the happiest man. So is for the so is for an entrepreneur. Get inside with least expectations. You will be the most powerful man. There is a wrong misguidance. Think big, think big, think big. No. Don't think big. Think next zero every time.
Absolutely.
Only one more zero at a time. This is
Absolutely.
very important for entrepreneurs, so that they don't get into mental health issues, which some of the television stars are getting into.
Right.
So live happy, live happy, look positive, be optimistic, take challenges, and never get disheartened, because failures are always a part of life, and there is no business which is made without failures.
Absolutely, sir.
And no successful storytelling man will tell all failures he had, because then you have to listen to the story for 100 hours, and you only have 1 hour. You only have 1 hour, so you will only listen to the all success side of it. Failure side of it, you will never know.
On that note, Dr. Velumani, thank you so much for that inspiring talk and giving lessons on
Thank
entrepreneurship,
you.
on marriage, philosophy, on life in general. So, from all of us at Forbes India, thank you so much, and all the best with everything that you're doing with Thyrocare.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.